Thank you, Victor. Hello, everyone. As Victor said, my name is David Smith, and I'm the Chief Officer of the UK charity 15Square. And I'm very pleased to be here with all my friends from around the world and Germany especially. 15Square was formed 25 years ago, and it helps men who've been damaged physically or psychologically through circumcision. It was formed by a doctor, Dr. John Warren. Today marks the 10th anniversary of the Cologne ruling, and although the end result was not what any of us would have wanted, it did start the discussion about the ethics of male circumcision. And I'm pleased to be with my Danish colleagues today, and I was very interested to hear from Lena the progress that is being made in Denmark. So I wanted to take this opportunity to look back at the progress that has been made in the UK in the 10 years since the Cologne ruling, and to look at what we want to achieve in the next 10 years. First of all, the ruling opened the discussion. Certainly in the UK, it opened the discussion, and circumcision has since been the subject of many programmes and articles in the UK. In 2019, a documentary filmmaker, Ali May, produced a documentary called A Cut Too Far. This explored the issues surrounding religious circumcision, and the introduction to the programme said, thousands of baby boys are circumcised annually in the UK, mainly for religious reasons. With some countries debating a ban on it, the programme asks, should we ban it here? It did not reach a conclusion, but it did add to the debate. In the same year, a programme was broadcast by the BBC Inside Out team, and the title of the programme was Circumcision's Silent Few, the men who say the procedure ruined their lives, and the faith leaders who insist it's an important moment in a man's life. I was actually involved and interviewed in that documentary, and I think that the person who produced it did an absolutely wonderful job. And it was this programme that featured Leslie Roberts, whose son Alex took his own life at 23 following a circumcision he'd had 2 years earlier. Unlike a lot of men who take their lives following a circumcision, Alex left a very detailed suicide letter about his damage, and his wish was that it be used to prevent other men suffering the same as he did. And his mother has dedicated her life to carrying out his last wish. And I'm proud to say that she agreed to become an ambassador for 15Square. Leslie has recently published a book called A is for Alex. And that book contains Alex's words. My colleague Jason Metters couldn't be here today. He really wanted to be. So I thought what I'd do, I'd read the words that Jason contributed to the book. And it said, Alex's story is both heartbreaking and inspiring. On the one hand, he had an internal battle trying to come to terms with the impacts that the circumcision had in his life. And on the other hand, there is a clear message within the letter that he left behind: tell the others. He spent his final words earnestly trying to deter others from walking the same difficult path that he endured. I first became involved with the charity 15Square in 2016 after hearing about the trauma that many men suffer after receiving a circumcision. It was a shock at first, but also made absolute sense. One of the most sensitive parts of the body is bound to have significance to many men. After reading hundreds of personal accounts shared with the charity, I know only too well that circumcision can leave pain, discomfort, and change in sensitivity in its wake. In Alex's case, he was not warned of these problems, as doctors are all too often eager to downplay the significance of the procedure. There needs to be fully informed consent. Circumcision should come with a warning label, and Leslie Roberts has given us that label by sharing Alex's words. Withholding information on potential side effects can have dire consequences. What is significant about Alex is that he wanted his story to be made public after his tragic death. Rather than hiding his trauma, which is often natural for such a private issue, Alex wanted to prevent further suffering at the expense of his own privacy. He bravely expressed exactly what his situation was in specific detail and left no uncertainty as to the origin of his pain. His story should be heard by doctors, parents, politicians, and men worldwide, so that they can have a window into the thought processes that are behind circumcision grief and act accordingly. I hope that Alex's story encourages other men who are struggling to share their experiences and to seek help before they are overwhelmed. I am enormously grateful that Alex was bold enough to step up and express himself before he left us. The fact that he did shows his caring nature and his desire to save others from his fate. And I would urge you all, it's a very powerful book to read, so I would urge you all to get a copy of that book. In the same year, Shane Fenley from the BBC produced another excellent interview entitled "Circumcision, My Penis Causes Me Constant Pain." And this followed the story of a guy called Avon, and he was circumcised in infancy, and he had physical pain and trauma, and it follows his journey in trying to get the damage repaired by going to see a consultant and also discussing non-surgical restoration. And it was quite a tragic story. Although in the UK, our National Health Service does not fund non-therapeutic circumcisions, doctors have often used circumcision as the first course of treatment. And I'm pleased to report this is changing. And there has been a recent article in one of our major newspapers where surgeons at one of our leading hospitals in the UK published a new report showing that irreversible surgery is carried out 10,000 times per year. The analysis also found up to half of the boys who underwent medical circumcision at some trusts were under 5, an age at which doctors agree the procedure is almost always unnecessary. It asks the question, is the NHS carrying out thousands of unnecessary circumcisions on teenage boys? Surgeons said that less invasive measures should be sought and claimed that more than half of annual circumcisions were unnecessary. This is major progress. So, having looked at the changes that have happened in the last 10 years, I want to look at what we want to achieve in the next 10 years. We need better recognition of the psychological damage for men affected. We need more work on these issues, including specialist training for counsellors and psychotherapists. So, what are 15Square doing to promote this? We've recently completed a research paper on psychological damage, and I want to thank Michael Batterley from the School of Psychology in Liverpool for his help in this paper. This has been submitted to an academic journal for publication. We formed a working relationship with a charity that deals with mental health and suicide prevention, and I have completed a mental health first aid course. We run support meetings for men who are affected, and it gives them a forum to discuss their issues with others going through the same problem. And it's often said that men don't complain. Doctors have said men don't complain about circumcision, but they've never been allowed to. And we've been encouraging men to tell their stories so that they can be published as evidence. So if anyone wishes to submit their story, there are details on our website, www.15square.org.uk. We're offering training to professionals working in this area, and to move this forward, we've formed a focus group. I'm very excited to see a mature dialogue opening up within faith communities. This allows an opportunity for effective men within these communities to start a dialogue. And we also recognise the amazing work that's been done on FGM and intersex issues. We very much value the partnerships and friendships we've formed with organisations and individuals around the world who are handling the multifaceted nature of this subject, many of whom are participating in Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy. And I very much look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you very much.